This is the Effing One Podcast, Australia's only Formula One podcast with Adam and Luke.
G'day and welcome to the Effing One Podcast, Australia's only dedicated F1 podcast with effing in the title. The one podcast that promotes Nurang as a future Grand Prix circuit, and the podcast that aims to make Formula One great again with idiotic yet achievable ideas like qualifying while eating the local dish, and a podcast voted quickest to skip by F1.com. The ratings from the Maldives have just come in, and we've confirmed they are the second highest downloaded podcast after the Coconut Files, a coconut-based thriller podcast which, spoiler alert, is about when coconuts fall and kill people. Unfortunately, you've stumbled across the Little Aussie Battlers podcast that's not afraid to swear bloody murder, call a rapist, and not afraid to tell it like it is and call a spade a fucking spade. And if you're still here, it's time to grab a cuppa, sit back, relax, get the tissues ready, and slip a hand down the pants, and shut the hell up! Welcome to the F1 podcast. Off the top, I'd like to remind our listeners of the vomit-free guarantee we offer here. If anything we say on this podcast causes you to lose your guts, Adam will fly to your village, go through quarantine, and personally clean up the dried-up mess and deep clean you and the outfit you've soiled, if you're wearing an outfit. Unless you're in an Icelandic bukkake festival, then the deal's off. And what a show we have lined up. This is the forward sell. Comeback Kubica. He's on the podcast. Four-time world champion Sebastian Vettel. He's here as well. Toto Wolff, we check in on last lap. Kimi Räikkönen. And of course, we finally get to Daniel the Personality Ricciardo on this very podcast. Clearly punching well above our weights. And I'll wrap up the Dutch festival that was Zandvoort and preview the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. Adam sends his condolences that you have to listen to me. He won't be partaking in his usual spot alongside me here, and he would like to offer a refund for his upcoming speaking tour, aptly named My Life as a Flake. And off to Zandvoort, the track by the freezing North Sea. And wasn't there a lot of flares? Wasn't there a lot of party atmosphere? What a great place to have a race. The track was phenomenal. It was nice and banked. You could go side by side in a few corners. I really enjoyed it. I'm not sure about anyone else. There's parts of it, of course, that are going to be a bit of a snooze fest, and it happens with some Grand Prix. You're not going to have action-packed every single lap, but Zandvoort did enough. The atmosphere was great. There's clearly a DJ that's on cocaine or something. That place was absolutely pumping. There was argy-bargy from some of the drivers. And, the wingman tried to do his best by, letting people past as he usually does. And we'll get on to the awards. Of course, we all know that Max Verstappen won his home Grand Prix ahead of the two Mercedes drivers. Sergio Perez had a shit of a weekend and decided to change his engine while he was at it. And he started from the back. But it was a great Grand Prix at the Dutch Grand Prix. Good to see Kubica in the car. The one-handed bandit was driving very, very well. He was like half a second or 0.8 behind Giovinazzi, who had a fantastic qualifying over the weekend. And Kubica only finished behind him by one spot during the race, which I think every driver was lapped except for the top three. So I think Pierre Gasly he got lapped and he was P4. So short track. And, those guys up front were very quick. Lewis tried to get close a few times, got within a second and a half, but couldn't quite get to Max. Didn't really get a chance to challenge for the lead. Bottas stayed late and you'd like to say tried to keep him behind, but Max had fresh tyres. It went around the outside, going down the straight and got the drag, got the job done and won the race. Other than that, not much else going on. Alonso did a fantastic drive. Daniel Ricciardo went backwards a little bit, went from P10 to P11. Lando Norris, again, a good drive. He had pace left in the car when it came to the race. And Pierre Gasly, fantastic job in P4. Super effort that. Sainz, in one of the practice session, had a bit of a spinny spin and crashed backwards into the bank corner. I think it's turn 3. that corner. Heaps of actions on the first lap. Alonso did a fantastic job. Got hit. Giovinazzi got hit. Everyone got hit a little bit. If you're not rubbing paint on the first lap of Zandvoort, you're not really racing. You should go home. And the Haas boys, really, they didn't like each other this weekend. I know what's going to happen. There's going to be handbags at 10 paces, I think, with those two, Mick Schumacher and the Russian rapist, Mitu Mazepin. There was some confusion. Mazepin was rightly pissed. They say they have orders of who goes first in qualifying. A lot of teams do this. This race you're going to be in front, and this race you're going to be in front. And apparently Mazepin was going to be the driver in front going into qualifying, and Mick Schumacher overtook him and then kind of backed him up, which screwed Sebastian Vettel's lap. So it was unfortunate for Seb. He missed out, and then during the race, Mazepin got ahead of Mick and then really heavily blocked him. A little bit dangerous, but nothing came from the stewards. There was no investigation into it. But if I was Gunther Steiner, I'd be trying to break these two people up, because Mitu's going to have his hands all over Mick Schumacher's fine little toit ass. So best if we just leave that alone. But let's go into the fastest lap. Was Lewis Hamilton with a 1 minute 11.097. Fastest pit stop was a 2.15 seconds by Red Bull Racing. Driver of the day, voted by all the people on the F1.com. They said that Sergio Perez was the driver of the day. He did a phenomenal job coming back into the points after his engine penalty and a poor qualifying. But Perez really needs to be up there after re-signing. You'd expect that he's trying to be on his game, but he didn't do very well. And the awards that we hand out, probably the most important awards for clearly the people listening at home, is the Effing One Podcast Award for making Formula One great again. And really, Zandvoort wins this award for making F1 great again. The track was great to watch. There was different lines going into turn 3. Sebastian tried something a little bit different to go down the inside, and that did not work. Sebastian had one of his trademarks, unassisted spins. I think there should be an unassisted spin stat. I'll get on to Sean Tim Tam Kelly about an unassisted spin stat for Sebastian and Mitu Mazepin as well. But I think Sebastian would be on the lead on that one. The Green Award for making Formula One a little bit more eco-conscious, for lowering the carbon footprint of Formula One as we try and reduce our carbon emissions to reduce global warming. We're forward-thinking here in the podcast. We give out a Green Award for, and this time for the Zandvoort Grand Prix, we're giving it to the red flags. Now, we had plenty of red flags throughout the weekend. We missed 30-odd minutes in first practice thanks to Sebastian Vettel left his charger turned on in the car. He was saying that the car was live. He touched it. I'm pretty sure he touched it. But the marshals were like, well, we're not touching that fucking thing, even though I thought they were supposed to have rubber gloves. Clearly, the gloves weren't handed out. Sebastian was whinging about the fire extinguishers they were using and the job that they were doing. Maybe he was concerned about the test date on the tag, that it wasn't up to testing date. But who knows what our fine man Sebastian Vettel was complaining about. We'll talk to him later and see what he thinks. But the red flag certainly reduced the carbon footprint and the emissions of the Grand Prix weekend in Zandvoort. The Pasta Maldonado Award is up next, and that's for dangerous driving. And we're giving that to the Haas boys. And it wasn't just in qualifying that Sebastian nearly ploughed into the back of them. It was also the race, as I said before, about them going toe-to-toe down the straight, and Mazepin really making a couple of moves there. You can make one move, but then he made another one which was a little bit dangerous. So we're giving the Pasta Maldonado Award for those two boys. And for the championship, there's only 3 points between Max and Lewis. Max on 224.5 and Lewis on 221.5. They are well and truly out in the lead. And they're doing it's 3 points. It's pretty close. It's good to see a close battle before we completely change the series of Formula One and the direction of Formula One in regards to changing the cars A whole new specification of car next year if you have been living under a rock. And that's going to change things again. There'll be one team that nails it and everyone else will be playing catch-up. So enjoy this close battle, because I do not, and this could come back and bite me on the ass, but I do not believe that the championship will be as close as it is this year when it happens next year. I reckon some team, it could be Red Bull, they're very good at designing a car, because it's not about engines now. I think everyone's pretty much on pace with engines. Mercedes, Renault, Honda, which will be a Red Bull Honda, or just be a Red Bull. I'm not sure what they're going to call it. It'll be in the back, and it's decent enough. Ferrari have got a decent engine now, so I don't think there's going to be that big gap that Mercedes had, but someone's going to nail the regs next year. Could be McLaren, could be Williams. We don't know. And saying that, Williams will have a new driver next year, since George Russell has been finally announced, as it was announced here on the F1 podcast by Toto Wolff about 6 weeks ago. George is going to Mercedes, and I know for a few of our listeners, they were very excited. Got some dick pics in the DMs about how happy they were. It was a sight to see, and it wasn't just Sebastian's. But yeah, good to see George Russell deservedly get his spot in one of the top teams, because Mercedes is up there. But I would have went to Red Bull if I was him, even though Mercedes had pretty much paid his way for a while now. Back to the awards. Yuji Ide award for wasting everyone's time, and no one really wastes as much time as this driver. Me Too Mazepin. Nikita Mazepin, the Russian rapist, he will be the winner of the Yuji Ide this time. Yeah, I'm sure he's got plenty of them already, but it's just fun. You're just wasting everyone's time by turning up each week and turning up a bunch of crap. He's getting better, he's getting quicker, he's getting closer to Mick, but just this weekend, just a little bit shit. So you wasted our time. And we move on to the Licket Incentives Award, the best award for overtaking. No other podcast does this. No other podcast does it in the nude, but we do it that way. And the Licket Incentives Award goes to Fernando Alonso for his move around the outside of his teammate Esteban Ocon, and then which ended up getting a spot in front of Giovinazzi later on in the lap. There was some good overtaking maneuvers down into turn one around the outside. Sergio Perez tried on Lando Norris, and Lando got a bit argy-bargy, put his elbows out. Not the fairest of driving. I think Lando tried to do the same thing he did in Austria, which he got penalised for. But if he did push Perez off a little bit more, he probably would have been penalised. So he hasn't learned his lesson there, Lando. He was done. He tried to fight. I understand that, but you can't just make contact like that. It's just not cricket, fellas. Caviar Cup. This is for the billionaire boys, Latifi, Stroll, and Me Too Mazepin. So if they finish ahead of their highly respected teammates, then they get a point towards the Caviar Cup. And Latifi and Stroll both finished ahead of their respective teammates, and congratulations to those boys for getting a point towards their Caviar Cup, filled with the finest caviar you would get from the Nerang River. And the Speckled Gym Award, it's like a best on ground, Brownlow, Ballon d'Or, whatever it is, it's the best and fairest. So if you don't do a dickish thing, you get some points towards the Speckled Gym Award. And Max Verstappen, he gets 3. He was pretty faultless on the weekend, didn't really put a foot wrong. 2 points for Fernando Alonso for making some good moves, some smart moves, and a great overtaking maneuver on the last lap. The Carlos Sainz, Mini Fon Sainz, got done by the Fons, showed him how it's done, as Sainz's tyres just couldn't hold on much longer. And the final point is given to the P4 man, Pierre Gasman Gasly. Now, I don't know what he had for dinner. There's a lot of people having some kind of waffle type of chocolate thing that they had in the paddock, and maybe he had a lot of those, and Gasman certainly produced on the weekend in Zandvoort, and it was a great weekend of racing. The fans did a phenomenal job smoking the place out, and I would love to see more fans bringing more flares so that the drivers can't. Do you think Spa And the spray was bad. I want there to be some cars out. I want some fans in the stands in Monza to get those green and red flares going this weekend for the Italian Grand Prix. You know you've got them. Now just time to use them. Now, that is the Zandvoort Grand Prix done. Let's not talk about that ever again. We've got a mid-cell. Now, that was pretty good so far, I must say. Heaps more to come on the podcast. You thought the intro was good. You thought Zandvoort and the awards was good. No. Some of it might be good. I can't guarantee it. We're going to have Robert Kubica coming up right now. We're going to talk to him, our hand in the paddock, the official FIA tester, and now reserve driver, getting a couple of Grand Prix in his belt, using his one hand and taking on the world. And let's go chat with Robert.
Geen in the paddock, geen in the paddock, it's geen in the paddock with Robert Kubica. Robert Kubica. Hey.
Hey, fellas, it's me, Robert Kubica. Hello, fellas, hello. G'day, Robert, how's it going? Good, look, I'm driving again, did you see? I saw that. You would have been driving this weekend anyway? Probably, I don't know. I don't check these things. But hey, Kimi, he's got the COVID. I tested him. I was like, Kimi, I think you've got the COVID. I think I'll get to drive. That sounds a little bit convenient for you there, Robert, that you do the tests and then the team that you're most familiar with, did he really have the COVID? Look, how dare you question my professionalism. I had Kimi Räikkönen, I had my hand in his paddock, and I did the usual testing procedure. If a man has COVID, it is my job to go, you've got the COVID. So Kimi, unfortunately, he's got the COVID, and that means I get to drive, and I get to drive this weekend. It's phenomenal. Great track at Zandvoort. The fans were fantastic. They gave me a special disabled parking spot. It was a fantastic weekend. I was so happy. That's great. Your wife was happy? Yes, look. My little cunt was so happy. Happy that I'm driving this weekend, and also happy that I get to drive at Monza. One of the easiest tracks on the simulator. Now, a little birdie tells me, even though this is Giovinazzi's weekend, you watch me in qualifying. I will get him. And I will stay in front of him and crush him with my other good hand. There's some fun words, Kubica. It's good to see that spirit back. Look, I don't have much hair. I don't have much time, but I will get in front of Giovinazzi. Ciao, ragazzi. Oh, goodbye. I wasn't expecting that, but goodbye. Robert Kubica, thanks for joining us. And some wonderful insight there from Robert. I've got the tips from our listeners. Now, you all did a phenomenal job. There was some good results this weekend. Myself, Pete, Adam, 14, Jimmy, Marcus, Pat, Cliff, 15. Now, the leader at the moment, and he's out to a handy lead. That little 5-point jump he had in the previous podcast. Cliff is on 179. Jimmy, Luke, 176. Pat, 171. Marcus, 164. Pete, 151. And Adam, who's got the lowest score on every round because he hasn't put a fucking tip in, shows his commitment to the podcast. 139 points. 40 behind our great leader, Cliff. Keep that up, Cliff. Heaps more to come. And the Turd Championship. Now, this is the reverse championship. So, if you win a race, you get 25 points. If you come dead last, you get negative 25 points towards your Turd Championship. So, you don't come away empty-handed if you're the shittest driver. You will get one of Pete's steaming turds wrapped in glitter and put on a beautiful piece of oak that Pete has also hand whittled. And it's good to see that Me Too Mazepin is taken, and I would near say an unassailable lead, sure. If he gets in the top 10 in the next few rounds and Junior Schumacher really seems to struggle. But I don't think it's going to happen. Me Too Mazepin is on negative 209 points, and we have a new person. We thought we had it all. We had 20 drivers in the Turd Championship. Everyone had finished outside the top 10, but now we've got number 21. Now the 21st driver to enter the Turd Championship is our hand in the paddock, Robert Kubica. Fresh with his beautiful disabled sticker that he gets to use. He is on negative 8 points, on the same points as 7-time world champion, the douche canoe Lewis Hamilton. So, I'm just putting it out there, Robert Kubica is on the same points as Lewis Hamilton. So, congratulations, Robert. Welcome to the Turd Championship. But yes, it's Me Too Mazepin, Junior Schumacher, Latifi. He is on negative 134 points. Junior Schumacher 158. Me Too Mazepin 209. Then it's Sweary Sonoda on 102. Then there's a bit of a gap when you get down to Boy George Russell on 81. Last lap Raikkonen 79. And he's sticking there on 79 because he's not racing this weekend either. So he's been a cunning man just not to jump up that Turd Championship by not competing. I think that's really why. He doesn't have COVID. He's just taken a bit of a breather from the Turd Championship. And right now we're going to head to Sebastian Vettel and see what he's up to. Hi guys, it's me, Sebastian Vettel, 4-time world champion. How are you doing? Sebastian, nice to see you. Good tidings. What's going on in the world of Seb Vettel? Well, look, I'm a little bit sad. Oh, what's that? I was just sitting here oiling up before getting in the car in Monza, and I was thinking about you, and I thought, I haven't seen a dick pic from you in quite some time, so I'm a little bit lonely. So if you wouldn't mind, Luke, could you just send me, just after the podcast, not now, I know you're busy, just if you would mind sending me, a little bit of a dick pic. Sebastian, for you, you know that this is a prerequisite. If I get you on the podcast, I must send a dick pic. So I'm going to do something arty, something black and white just for you. Oh, look, that'd be fantastic. I just can't wait for it. I'm getting hard just thinking about it. So, what's been going on? There's a race in Monza, and I will be going on a tracky track. I can't wait. I've been tested by Robert 4 times this morning, and I still don't have the COVID. I might check just after the podcast, because I don't know, I could be contagious. But Robert's very busy, so I have to really schedule the time of my testing. Hey, look, what is this podcast called again? It's called the Effing One Podcast. I don't give a fucking shit. I'm just kidding. I don't care. What are you looking forward to most outside of the testing? Well, I'm going to finish in the top 5s this weekend. I'm not sure if you know this, but I'm going to absolutely take the pants off Lance Stroll, in not a good way, but I will take his pants off and I will Roger him. But look, hey, I have to go. I have to drive the car. It's Monza. My first win was here. It was in the rain in Toro Rosso. I don't know if you remember. I remember. I was watching it. So yeah, great weekend for you. Thanks, looks. Bye. Hey, stay golden, pony boy. Ha ha. Bye. Sebastian Vettel, 4-time world champion, on this very podcast. Now, talking about Monza, let's dive into Monza straight away. Let's not beat around the bush. We're here to call a spade a bloody spade, and Monza, here it is, the 5.793 Autodromo Nacional Monza. 53 laps of this fantastic ancient Grand Prix track. Ancient probably should be something like 1,000 years old, but it's pretty much, it's old. We know it is. The first Grand Prix was in 1950. Race distance is 306.72 kilometers a lap. Record Rubens Barrichello back in 2004, a 1 minute 21.046 at the Monza Grand Prix. Great atmosphere. They'll have fans back this year. They'll have the Tifosi going absolutely spastic. And I'm looking forward to it. A lot of drivers there enjoying the pasta, the pizza. I know that's all I would be doing when it comes to that Grand Prix. The tyres they're choosing this weekend is the C2, C3 and C4. That's the The C2 will be the hard, the C3 are the medium, and the C4 is the soft. Pirelli have 5 tyres they can choose from, the C1 to C5, so this is smack bang in the middle for this weekend. There is a low percentage of rain, max temps between 26 and 27. Previous winner is Pierre Gasman Gasly. Quali was Hamilton, Bottas, Sainz. Sainz got on the podium last year. It was P2, and Stroll was behind in P3. And the finishing of the Grand Prix last year, I think it was Lewis went into the pits under a red, the pits were closed, and he got a penalty for that, and he had to fight his way back up. Of course, he whinged about it, as he does. He's one of the finest whingers that we know. It's going to be a great weekend for a great race. I think there'll be a lot of good dicing and battling. Hope it's not just all down to turn one. I'll hope they'll have some fights in other parts of the tracks into the chicanes. Around turn 3, I think it is, the right-hander after the first chicane. There's a lot of side-by-side action trying to get the inside for the next one before the 2 Lesmo corners. Lesmo, not Lesbo corners. And let's look at the times that you'll be able to watch the Grand Prix. Remember, the format has changed this weekend. There will be practice, then sprint qualifying. So we'll have the qualifying on the Friday. Get your tips in early. Then we have practice, and again on Saturday afternoon, we'll have the sprint qualifying, and then the little mini race that they have, which will set the grid for the Sunday's race. But for the race time on Sunday, or if you're in New Zealand, it's Monday, 1 a.m. Queensland, you'll be looking at 11 p.m. It's pretty much the same race time as the previous Grand Prix. Perth, 9 p.m. Helsinki, 4 p.m. Stockholm is 3 p.m. London, 2 p.m. The United States East Coast is at 9 a.m. and the United States West Coast is at 6 a.m. Those are your times to watch the Monza Grand Prix. Now, we've had some news, some driver market news recently. As I said before, George Russell confirmed at Mercedes-AMG Petronas. We also have Alexander Albon coming out of, I think it's DTM, steps back into the main game. He'll be at Williams, slightly quicker than a German DTM car, not by much, but it's exciting. It's good to see him back. I think there's other drivers I would prefer to see in there. I think I mentioned in the previous podcast with maybe a Renault partnership with Williams, but it looks like our friend Alexander Albon, the TIE Fighter, will be popping out ping-pongs from the Williams garage next year. Good to see him back. I think everyone's happy to have him back, to give another chance. Mercedes was trying to scupper his connection with Red Bull, that if you want to drive with a Mercedes engine in the back of your car, you might have to cut your tyres a little bit there. I'm not sure if that's happened or if he is still under a Red Bull contract. So, but it's good to see Albon back in. There's been a swap at Alfa Romeo. The other Finn has replaced the Finn, so now it will just be a Finn next year. Valtteri Bottas is swapping over. He'll be taking Kimi Räikkönen's seat, or Robert Kubica's seat at the moment, as the Alfa Romeo driver. The second driver will probably be Giovinazzi, because they want an Italian in the car for Alfa Romeo. And Giovinazzi's done a half-decent job still. Not a huge point scorer. The Alfa car's not a huge point-scoring car. Will that change with Bottas in there? No, I think Bottas is worthy of Formula One, but I don't think he's as wily and as wise and smart with his track positioning and overtaking when it comes to what Raikkonen does on a race day. He's pretty smart when it comes to where he needs to place his car to fight and where he needs to place his car when he wants to overtake. And I think there's that level of the calmness and just the smarts of, you'll see it in Fernando, you see it in Kimi Räikkönen. These guys just put their car in the right place to either make it really difficult and keep the spot, or they make a good overtaking, an opportunistic move when most people won't be thinking. That's when they're about to get overtaken. True sign of a good champion. So Valtteri Bottas steps down from Mercedes, being pushed out by George, who is a phenomenal driver and is definitely worth that spot there. So as the driver market kind of condenses up, as more and more is confirmed, it'd be interesting to see if we're going to get any F2 drivers coming into Formula 1 next year. Sonoda's been given the thumbs up for another year. So we will see what happens in the other driver markets. Now we're going to talk about Nerang, the Nerang Grand Prix. We haven't had an update from them for quite some time. We've been at our nose to the grindstone. You'd think we'd just given up on this, but we haven't. It's the Monaco of the Gold Coast, the town that, there's little to say about Nerang that isn't already known. When you think about the Gold Coast, when you think about the tourist capital of Australia, you think, well, you probably don't think Nerang. You'll probably think about the Surfers Paradise or Broad Beach or any of those beautiful places along the beach there, about our golden beaches along here on the Gold Coast. But if you go inland about half an hour, you'll see a little town called Nerang. If you Google image it, you might find some great whorehouses. You might find some great crack houses. And what you should find, hopefully one day, a Nerang Grand Prix on the streets of the wonderful town that is Nerang. Now, it's a 7.2 kilometre track. It has many corners. One of the famous Ifland Righty, named after Adam's favourite hand. We have the Hill. We have the nude section. We have the meth simulator. We have free fruit for all participants who come into the Grand Prix. We're thinking about, trying to keep people healthy at a time where a lot of people are trying to get sick. And the great thing about Nerang is there's no COVID there. It's ground zero for every known disease that we have, every virus that you could possibly think of. It's started or it's homed there. And these people are just impervious to any form of infection disease. They have enough problems with teenage pregnancies and poor education. But it's Nerang, and it deserves an Aussie Battler Grand Prix on the streets. It just makes you want to stand up and punch someone in the face. That's what we think about Nerang now. We've had a national conversation. We've organised a committee, and we've also organised a royal commission into the viability of having an Nerang Grand Prix. Now, these do take some time, but we've had a little whisper from some of our contacts in the higher-ups, the people who cut that red tape that is unnecessarily there, and the national conversation is getting up there. There's a lot of polling, there's a lot of little backdoor deals, a lot of phone calls to high important people, not made by me because I'll stuff it up, but we've got our people on the ground in Nerang telling everyone what needs to happen and that they're behind and supporting the little Aussie Battler Grand Prix. That's what we need here for Nerang, and we've got a new initiative coming in to the Nerang Grand Prix, and it could come into Formula 1 as well, because we're all about making F1 great again. That's what the F1 podcast does. And, Formula E has the fan boost. You can vote on Twitter that they will get an extra bit of boost at different parts of the race that they choose to use it. So 2 drivers, whoever gets the most votes on Twitter, gets the most retweets, blah, 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 they end up getting a bit of extra power boost from their electric engines for Formula E. But we're doing it differently. We're going to be doing a vote, their favourite driver or their least favourite driver. See where we're going here? And we're going to put them in stocks. So when you put your head and your arms through a piece of wood, the other half of wood slammed behind that head and arms, and you're basically stuck there. And with the fan boost points is that you get to vote on who gets rotten fruit thrown at them. So they'll be there in stocks in the middle of the fan area at the Nerang Grand Prix, just next to the meth museum and the meth simulator. You'll get to throw rotten fruit and maybe the odd syringe that's laying around at your least favourite driver. So there'll be a vote. Whoever gets the most votes, they get dragged out there, put in the stocks, and we all get to throw shit at them. And I think that's a great initiative, which I hope more Grand Prix take on, which, I think this could be something that not only the Nerang Grand Prix takes on, but something that Formula 1 really grasps. And they've tried to steal many ideas. The sprint race, that was one of our ideas. They're trying to bring in free fruit. Again, I'm sure there was a nude section at the Dutch Grand Prix. Where'd they think of that? Narang. Just not getting the kudos, not getting the, we need a race. If it's a second Australian race, fine, but let's just steal it from Melbourne. They don't need it anymore. They just keep fucking it up with losing out on COVID. They keep getting cases through the roof, and they keep getting lockdown. But you know who doesn't go into lockdown? Narang, because no one cares about them. Okay, enough about Narang. Let's talk about the man, the big, giant man who runs Mercedes-AMG Petronas. We have him on this podcast. Toto Wolff is coming up next, and let's talk to him right now. Hello, Luke. It's good to see you. Thanks for coming on. I think that's what I'm supposed to say there. No, this is my podcast now. I'm tired. Just waiting for you guys. So, where's Adam? Unfortunately, he's unavailable to come to the podcast at the moment. If you'd like to leave a message, I'll get back to you. Listen, Adam, you girly man. You need to stop sitting on your hands and say, I'm too tired. My job, it's taking all my energy. You have to sit here and talk shit for like an hour and entertain the many people in the world. Get off your ass. Get off your couch. Let's work together and make this podcast great again. I couldn't have said it better myself there, Toto, but it's not really my place. What are your expectations toward this weekend? Mercedes, AMG Petronas, position 1, position 2, unless some kind of stupid shit happens like last year, then we're fucked. But I'm convinced we have the car for this weekend. We will take it to Red Bull and we will keep them behind us. Hopefully, some kind of Charles Leclerc or someone will get in the way and block off any attempt for Max to get on the podium. Because that would be also good for Italy, good for Ferrari, and of course good for Charles Leclerc. Completely, it would be huge for Ferrari. And I think it would be well deserved. Charles is a great driver. But you really think you've got the medal on the Red Bulls this weekend? Listen, look, I'm not here to talk shit. I'm here to talk facts. We are the fastest car. We will win. You will see. Christian, I'm coming for you. When you pop out from the FIA, I'll be right there. We got 2 fists of fury ready for you. Now fuck off. Toto Wolff, everyone. Them's fighting words. I don't know what angered him to the point that he wanted to fight Christian Horner, but I think it's something that's been bubbling up for quite some time, and if we can't get a ring or an octagon ready for these two to battle it out, I would like to see that. I think there'd be a good pay-per-view for it. Daniel Ricciardo can get some of his UFC connections behind it, and I'd like to see a little scratch match with Christian Horner and Toto Wolff. Our last man we're going to have on the podcast, we've spoken about it time and time again. Daniel Ricciardo on this very podcast just after we talked to Kimi Räikkönen. So we are joined by Kimi Räikkönen. Kimi, how are you going this weekend? How are you feeling? Is COVID slowly exiting your body? Can you feel?
Goddamn, Luke, I can't feel a thing under my fucking chin. I am so wasted. Oh, I drank so much this week. If I have COVID, I wouldn't know. I'm just fucking lit and I'm so happy.
COVID? Which variant do you have?
I've got the Kimi Räikkönen variant. It's fueled by vodka, and I'm doing fine. I've got really no symptoms, but it's good to have a bit of an early retirement, if you know what I'm saying.
Kimi, will you be watching any part of this weekend's Monza Grand Prix?
Oh God, no! If I'm not there, what's the fucking point in watching Formula One?
What are your thoughts on Valtteri Bottas getting your seat for next year?
Look, I really don't care who's taking that seat. I'm pissed at Bottas. Like, they couldn't choose someone else. They had to choose that bloody Finn. He's so shit. He makes Finnish a bad name. But you know what? I don't care. I'm out. Hey, Valtteri, listen up. I'm going to take a piss in that seat. And then you can feel my warmth soaking into his overalls. And then I'll punch him in the face. Bye, Luke.
Bye, Kimi. And that's the time that we have today. Daniel Ricciardo, we couldn't get to him this week. We'll have to get to him in the next podcast. Hit us up on the socials, F1 Podcast on Twitter. Get in the tipping competition, F1 Podcast also on Instagram. Check us out. Give us a like. Give us a follow. If you like the podcast, give us a rate and review. If you didn't like it, give us a positive rate and review, because then other people will have to suffer just as much as you did. And I think that's a great way to get payback to some of your arch nemesis or nemesi. Thanks for listening. Adam will be back at some point. I'm not sure when he gets over his incurable condition of being incredibly weak. But I hope you're all doing well wherever you are in this world. Enjoy the Monza Grand Prix weekend. Have a pizza on Sunday night. Start that tradition. And I'll speak to you next time.